Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
And hello and welcome to episode 134 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. This show is being brought to you by Joe Travis, Jamie Stokes and Bartek. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for becoming our latest Patreon supporters. You too can help support the show by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench. And you can pledge any amount from as little as $1 per month upwards. All of your contributions help cover our production and hosting costs and are greatly appreciated. And hello and welcome to the show. And in the studio, I've got the usual two suspects. Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Benches.
And of course, Julian.
Hello.
And we have a special guest this week.
Hello, not that special. But
Special to us.
Robert Madden joins us to have a talk about our main topic, which is going to be on... it's going to be a bit of a touchy one. No, it won't be a touchy one. We're talking about what's happening over in Europe and how that's going to impact our modelling hobby with what's happening in Ukraine. So hopefully we can just keep it on track to... without getting the politics too deeply involved and keep it relevant to our audience.
yeah, we also don't want to show off our ignorance of military
Yeah, you
tactics and stuff.
wouldn't want to say something at this point, and then 3 years down the line, they're like, "Oh, that aged pretty
No, I
pretty
think
poorly,"
there'd be some people who would instantly say, "Well, that's a load of rubbish. These guys don't know what they're talking about."
Well, everyone seems to think they know things, don't they?
All right.
Just
so,
keep it to the models.
Yeah.
yes, we'll just keep it to the ball. We'll try to anyway. But that's coming up later on the show. Ian, what have you been up to?
Still playing around with the Key 44, the Tamiya 148 scale Key 44 2 Hey.
Yes.
I was hoping last weekend to have it in its gloss black base coat, but the weather got a bit warm again, so I just done little bits and pieces, worked on the undercarriage, got all that painted up and so forth, all little bits and pieces. So I've got no photo etch left on the sprue.
Well, actually, the weather, it's funny you should mention that, and it was remiss for me not mentioning it at the top of the show that in Australia we have had record floods in Queensland, New South Wales. Tragically, there's been 13 people who've lost their lives, and many, many thousands of people who've had the heartbreak of having their houses and businesses flooded.
So
and,
one in a 500-year flood.
Well, yeah.
1 in a 5-year flood, I think, nowadays.
Yeah, and it's just heartbreaking. Having been up there in the past for previous floods, it's just the amount of the smell and the mud that gets into everything, and it's just such a tough sort of slog to sort of clean it out. And yeah, it's just absolutely gutted to sort of see that occur again. And of course, we have the other tragic news that we woke up this morning to Shane Warne, who's one of the world's best spin bowlers ever, tragically passed away.
Cricket, yes.
At the age of 52.
It's a sporting thing.
It's a sporting thing, but...
if you're like me, you don't actually concern yourself
But
with sport.
he's been
He's
much
one
an
of my
Australian
heroes,
icon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
An icon of Australian sports.
Absolutely. So can't not sort of comment on that, as well as other issues that are happening around the world. But to get back to what you were saying, the humidity in Melbourne has been off the chart.
Yeah, it's like trying to work through soup.
And it's affecting you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just you're trying to work. You got all the lights because you need plenty of light when you're working. So as soon as you start turning on those daylights, and it's just within 5 minutes you're just dripping sweat everywhere, and it's like, well, there's no point even trying this now.
I might add too, typically Melbourne does not get very humid.
No.
But this time, it's been shocking.
Yeah.
So I've just been plodding along. Thankfully, we've had a cool change last night come through. So when we finish recording, I head back home. I'm going to open every door and window and then get back on the bench and continue on with the little Key 44.
Cool.
Which I'm really enjoying.
Can I just ask you a quick question? Do you find it difficult to think of Key 44 as opposed to KI 44?
Well, I used to always say KI 44,
Yeah.
but then I recently found out it is actually Key 44, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for those listeners who don't know what a Key 44 is,
It's a Tojo, little Japanese Second World War fighter.
Or Shoki to the
Or
Japanese.
Shoki, yeah.
there you go.
So, but it's a nice little Hasegawa kit, and got a photo, Edward photo etch set that I put through it, and it's a really old Edward set too, because they used to print the gauges on clear acetone.
Oh, yeah.
This is printed on white paper,
Wow.
Jeez.
but it still turns out nice. You've just got to put a lot more clear
I bet you do.
over the lenses
Yeah.
because the paper just soaks
Soaks it
the
up,
clear
yeah.
in. So you put the clear dobs on there to simulate the lens over the gauge, and then 5 minutes later it's back to flat again. It's like, oh, okay, so just keep. And I think it was about 5 or 6 times. I just had to put little drops of clear in there before it finally settled enough that it created a film.
Right.
But it's a lovely little kit, and I'm quite enjoying it. And it's just weird because the flaps, the bottom flaps overhang
Yes.
at the wing roots, so it actually looks like there's a misalignment to the top and bottom wing, but it's not. It's actually the rear, the flaps actually protrude past the wing root.
Oh, there you go.
So, but yeah, it's just one thing you got to watch out for. If you build one, don't fill that in.
Julian.
Yeah, I've been working on my car models, and I finished one.
Actually,
Yes.
you brought it in to show us.
It's
Yes.
spectacular.
It was.
What a
It is.
beautiful paint job.
I actually thought when he pulled it out, it looked like a die cast. I thought it was a die cast.
High praise indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the paint job because I like there's the other 2 cars that I had previously. I tossed one and gave the other one away. Oh no, I gave them both away.
Yeah.
But those were pretty early attempts at doing the glossy car type thing, and you get. I've sort of refined my methods for polishing, and so I don't have too many mistakes anymore.
You've definitely done a nice job. It's
It's
and
very
haven't,
shiny.
and I couldn't see any spots where you cut through, so it looks
There is one, but it's just really hard to see.
but it does look spectacular. I've not seen such a nice finish for a long time on a car kit.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, well done.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't mind building another kit right now, like another car kit. But
I suppose it helps being all flat surfaces too.
Sort of. I can. So I found you can get away with just sort of ignoring the curvature parts to some degree because it's difficult to see. Because the thing is, like you can get it pretty close to the gloss that you want just with airbrushing, but with the polishing, you only really have to do it across broad areas that can be seen.
Yep.
The little nooks and crannies don't get enough light to actually reflect all that off, so you can sort of get away with it if your airbrushing is good enough.
I'm just wondering what reaction you're going to get from our friend of Mr. Shiny, Mr. Hamish,
Oh, right. Well, he's
the king of shiny.
yeah. Well, he's done quite a lot of car models over the years, and he's won quite a few trophies at Expo with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's from a different line of products, though.
Yeah.
He has been an acolyte of the school of future floor polish gloss clears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not about that.
I've never used the product.
Nah,
Not once.
nah.
Not once. I've seen it used perfectly, and then other times I've seen it where it looks good, and then a couple of months down the track it starts to crack or.
Well, indeed, even on Hamish's, one of Hamish's kit, it actually cracked and crazed.
Yeah.
On one of his aircraft ones
So-
that he did.
That was a big plane. That was a big model too.
Yeah, was it
Yeah.
it was a civilian airliner?
An
I think?
A340, is it?
Yeah, it might have been
Yeah.
A340. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's such a shame because you've done such a nice job painting it and decaling it. And
yeah.
just for it to
It
have
was,
that
it was like a
happen.
half-meter wingspan or something
Yeah.
on that kit, wasn't it? And then it all
Massive.
cracked.
well, that's right. Floor polish doesn't belong on plastic kits.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And also don't make airliners.
Why not?
Make military stuff. It's more interesting.
Oh, jeez, your hate mail's going to come in. I'm going to sit there.
What about you, Dave? What have you been up to?
I've been busy with work, as you can probably imagine, and planning to sort of potentially go away. And in fact, I am going away tomorrow for work. I'll be going to Gippsland tomorrow.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, It is what it is. It's just part of the job. I mean, how many times did I say we're going to do this recording, we're not going to do recording, we are going to do the recording? About 3 or 4 times I stuffed all of you guys around.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a lot. I've just finished fixing up the engine nacelle, taking the seams out on that Japanese aircrafty, spacey thing I'm building, and I'm ready to sort of lay paint down, which I hope this afternoon I might get a chance to do. Mm-hmm. Although apparently there's some grandkids coming around this afternoon, so that might goes my afternoon. So yeah, not much else really. Handball over to Robert. What have you been up to since you were last on the show? Which is
that's a long time ago.
Did I hear you say correctly while we were eating breakfast this morning that you've almost got a model finished?
I have almost got a model finished.
Oh,
and it was a model I was said to myself, I'm not going to do anything, no changes to anything. But then I had to get a picture of the angle of the gun, and then I found, really, I should add that, and I've got to add those wires. This is an anti-aircraft gun. I didn't expect to do wiring on it, but, these things happen. So I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm doing it.
Oh, there you go.
But I am building a MiG-21, which I'm doing nothing on.
Yeah, famous last words from Robert.
Well, I can say that because I know Edward are going to bring one out later, and I thought I'm not going to. This is just for the show, and then... Probably in the bin, maybe.
Don't throw it away.
Well,
he cannot abide inaccuracies in his models.
Okay. You should have heard what I was going to have to do to it. It was horrific. So I'm very glad. Thank you, Mr. Edward.
I'm gonna go and buy another display case, and it's going to be
all your friends' models.
No, Home for Unwanted Models.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Halfway house.
Have I got a cabinet to give to you? A cabinet full to give to you then?
I can't stand the fact that people throw models away. I mean, I can get it if you're frustrated with it and it's there's something wrong with it or you've stuffed it up. No trouble chucking it in the well of tears. I'm more than happy to do that.
So
but if you've finished it...
So you reckon you've got enough room for about 13 Focke-Wulf 190s?
No problem at all. I will go and buy a cabinet especially for your 190s.
Done.
100%.
Because I need the room when I start building all my Pacific War stuff.
Dave's orphan display cabinet.
Yeah. Home for unwanted kits.
Have to set up a museum for it.
Yeah, just think about how liberated you'll feel. I mean, you've already gotten rid of all the junk in your model room. Now you'll be able to get rid of all the junk in your display cabinet.
The worst thing is I got rid of, 45, 50 kits. And now I'm running out of room again.
Oh, jeez. Somebody's got to teach you what the word moderation means.
What does that mean, Dave?
Yeah.
There's one thing else I wanted to mention. So I recently, it came to my knowledge that there's this exhibition building in Japan called Small Worlds Tokyo. It's basically a multi-story sort of building that is dedicated to nothing but scale models.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Yeah. So inside it, it's got like the world's large. I think it's the world's largest railroad model.
Isn't that one in Germany? This is the one.
I don't know. I don't think this one's actually that big. So I don't think the title's right. But I heard it said so. Whatever. In any case, it's got like an entire model of like an airport.
Yeah,
full, like the whole thing,
yep.
And it's got planes that actually go up and down the runways and take off and go into a hole in the wall.
That's exactly the same as one in Germany. Yeah, there's one in Germany, Wonderland or something. I think I can't remember what it's called.
Well, this one's got like a day-night cycle on the lights that are above it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got little buttons you can push and places you can position your camera so that there's like you position your phone so you got like interactive elements that appear when you put your phone there.
All right. Yep.
Yeah, and it's got like a model of the, what's it in Houston, the space
Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, the Space Center, and like you press a button and the roof lifts off so that you can see the command center.
Ooh.
And the rocket will actually go along on the tracked vehicle up to the platform and then take off through a hole in the ceiling.
Well, the only thing they really need to do then is hire some dude in a Godzilla suit to go stomping through the light. And then it'd be purely Japanese.
Well, didn't I see something online? AK starting up a modelling museum or something?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, OK starting a model museum.
Well, anyway,
or modelling museum.
In any case, so this place, there's actually quite a large area where they do workshops. So you can go there and they'll teach you to like build dioramas.
Well, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, currently that portion's out of action because of COVID, but under normal circumstances, you can go there. You can still see like the guys who work there permanently in their own workshops at their own benches working on things.
We need to go to Japan.
Yeah, one day.
2023.
She's a worker.
2024.
And they do
Give us
hold-
time to save our money, Dave.
Yeah.
and
Sorry,
they,
Dave's going to pay for it.
Oh, if those are the pay for it, sure. I'm in.
and they do have like exhibitions there, you know, like car model exhibitions, competitions. You know, I don't think it's quite to the same level as competitions for here, but it'd certainly be on the scale of a small event at least.
Japan is cheaper to fly to. It only costs you about $1,200 return.
Yeah.
Even $900 return. So it's cheaper to get to.
Yep.
We can go there for the big show, and then we can go and check out all these cool places.
The shops.
Yeah.
The shops are so good. I've
know.
seen videos of that.
Oh, we've had so many people on the show have told us about the shops that we got to go.
Yeah.
Come on, we got to go.
Well, we're going to be spending a bucket load when we go to the States in a few months' time. So
Set up a
can't-
GoFundMe.
You can't thread you can't thread a camel through the eye of a needle. So there you go.
yep.
You also don't want to wait till you're too old to go.
Yeah, that's
correct.
right. Yeah.
What are you suggesting there, Julian?
He's not suggesting, he's telling you.
Look, I'm younger than you two guys. Oh,
Here he goes again, pulling the youth card.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use this
Youngins.
card until it wears out.
When he's 70, he'll be saying, I'm younger than you 90-year-olds.
That's right.
it.
Well, you're like me. I've only got a walking stick, while you guys have got walking frames. You know.
Oh dear. All right. Well, how about we have a word from our sponsor? Then we're going to listen into Ed from Model Expo to tell us what's coming up this year for the Expo. So we'll be back shortly. The Scale Model Supply, certified Australian made. The Scale Model Supply has a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints that have been specifically developed to cater to the scale modeler. Designed to use straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake, pour and spray for a fast drying and extremely durable result. But wait, there's more. SMS have just released the new water-based range, Infinite Colour. It is the ideal paint for anyone who is into miniature painting. And with 48 colours that can be mixed to create any colour you want, the possibilities are, well, infinite. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, train, car, science fiction, or even Gunpla. SMS paints will have a colour to suit you. Available now through selected stockists worldwide and online at www.scalemodeler.com.au. And on the show today, we've got Ed Russell, who is part of the organising committee of Model Expo, which is the premier model show in Australia. Indeed, I'll go so far as to say the Southern Hemisphere. Hello, Ed. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
So, Ed, step us through and tell us about what's happening with Model Expo this year. Are we actually having one?
Yes, indeed, we are having it. Well, subject to the usual government regulations, we'll be having one, but it's all booked in. The main difference is that we can't have it on the Queen's birthday weekend because Sandown have decided that they'll run horse racing then, and we suspect that this will be the pattern for future years as well. So this year we've made it the weekend after the Queen's birthday weekend. We're still going to run it as a 3-day show, but it will go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In fact, in the past it's been sort of a 4-day show, and that will continue because on the Thursday night this year we will still have the usual booking in that we would have had on the Friday night previously. Of course, everything is subject to whatever the government decides. Our anticipation at the moment is that will certainly go ahead. But you never know. There may be another variant that suddenly appears that's extremely contagious and extremely deadly, and the world goes back into lockdown. You just can't tell.
No, you can't, but we're certainly hoping that's not going to be the case. So, with the date changes, so what are the exact dates this year for Model Expo?
Well, I'd have to go and look on my calendar. Maybe one of you have got a calendar in front of you, and you can see that the 16th to the 19th of June.
16th to the 19th of June, 2022.
Yep. So the 16th is the Thursday, and that will be like previous Fridays where we can do the setup and the booking in. The Friday, the 17th, will be, we would anticipate that there would not be a lot of non-modeler type visitors, the general public, but we would expect that the word will get out and that many modelers will come in on the Friday, do their booking in of entries and have a look around and everything. It'll be fully open. The Saturday will be pretty much like previous Saturdays, and on the Sunday we will have the swap and sell.
I dare say you're going to anticipate a high volume of model entries. Are you making allowances for that and planning for that as well?
Well, we can't put a second story on Sandown, and we can't expand the walls out into the car park or anything, but in as far as we are getting a few more tables, we expect there'll be a reduced number of traders because of people just being unwilling to travel, and I can understand that. So that therefore there may be more entries for models. We'll cram them up tighter. Some people suggested, well, if we've got too many, we'll just put them on the floor, but I don't think that's
not a smart idea.
The model committee does have, the expo committee does have a sense of humour after all. But yeah, it is what it is, and you know, we will try and accommodate the number that will turn up. Hopefully nobody will win everything that they've built since the start of the first lockdown. One of the guys in our model club has made over 50 models since the start of the first lockdown, and not just simple models either. This includes a couple of Hercules and a C17 and a whole lot of sort of big things. If everyone was like him, well, not quite sure what we'd do.
So is there any changes in pricing or entry fees or anything like that, or are they still being held to 2020 prices?
We expect that they'll all be the same as last year. What we may do, though, we almost certainly will do is that we'll charge per model. You won't get after 5 models it's free or anything like that. That may, I mean, it doesn't cost very much anyway, but it may be a very mild disincentive for people who want to bring 20 models.
Oh, 100%. And I guess I'd hate to be a judge for that particular weekend, because you're going to be flat out.
That is a big consideration, and back in the past, sometimes the judging has gone till 1 a.m. or something like that, and if that happens, well, so be it. But we will endeavour to have the same system of judging as we have, but obviously, if there's just the sheer mass dictates it, we will we'll have to make it a little bit more simplified.
And of
I don't
course,
think it'll be substantial.
And of course, to make things easier, you have online registration and for the show. So to make things easier, I'd suggest that everybody actually does that rather than sort of queuing up in for hours trying to get your registration done. So is there a website or somewhere where people can go for pre-registration, or is it actually open yet?
I don't think it's open yet, but absolutely we will be encouraging online registration. I don't think it'll be compulsory, but we'll try and make the idea as attractive as possible. Obviously for every reason, online registration is a good idea, and I would anticipate next year it'll be compulsory. There won't be any queues.
No worries. And there's no rule changes. We've noticed that over in the US, there's a rule change to out of the box. There's no anticipated rule changes have come in for Australia?
Not specifically, but what we will do is change the categories. So I think for most things, but not everything, the modified category will disappear, and it'll basically, the enhanced category will disappear, and there'll basically be two standards, either out of the box or modified. The out of the box will include some of the changes that you're allowed to make for enhanced, but obviously we will encourage everyone to read the rule book when it comes out.
Absolutely.
I think that's the
Absolutely.
There's no specific rule changes, but in a sense, changing the categories does change the rules.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so we'll get you back on the show as we get closer and closer to the event. As usual, we fully intend to be there as well, broadcasting, well, not live, but we'll be broadcasting from the show. And I've already touched base with the other committee members. We plan to be one of the major sponsors for one of the modelling categories, so we're very excited to be able to do that. And of course, we're going to be really excited to catch up with all our mates and listeners, and looking forward to the show coming off. Congratulations to you and your committee over trying times the last couple of years, Ed, to finally sort of be able to pull this one out of the bag. And if anybody wants further information, where can they go to find out about Model Expo 2022?
The best source of information is the Model Expo website. We do run a Facebook page, but it is rather minimal, and we don't see it as our main form of communication. The website is definitely the best. It's kept up to date, and anything important will be on there. We've enjoyed having you guys at the show before, and we look forward to catching up with you again. You're right, it's been a very difficult 2 years. I've thrown away a whole wheelie bin full of flyers and promotional material and posters and stuff like that from last year's show and the year before. It's a lot of paper, a lot of expense, and ended up coming to nothing. But these things happen. Our problems are minor compared to the rest of the world, so we'll just go on and do the best we can.
No worries. Thanks very much, Ed. Like I said, we'll have you back on the show to talk more about it as we get closer to the event.
Yes, we'll certainly do that. Okay.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Time. Later.
Catch you later. Bye. Okay, so we're back from that interview. Sorry about the audio quality. I think that was Ed's end, but we'll look at improving that when we have Ed back again for future updates on Model Expo 2022.
Which we're all looking forward to.
Oh, I'm not.
Why?
Because I've got models I've got to finish, and I'm starting to get into the panic stage.
I'm so looking forward to just catching up with a lot of people we haven't seen for so long.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be so good. So we see what people have written into us about.
Yeah, so check out the mailbag.
Yeah, the mailbag, and there's a few in there. First one comes from Marty. Our good mate Marty.
Marty.
who's writing in to have a crack at me. Hi, guys. Enjoy the podcast and always listen to it. I have been entertained by the fact that some members use the word Tamaya instead of Tamia. In defence of Julian's claim, I have a couple of recordings to prove it. So Marty's actually gone and cut a couple of recordings from the show just to prove that I'm saying it wrong.
Are we going to hear them now?
Well, no, we won't.
The point taken, I think.
That's the point.
And you know, it's not like I don't remind you guys of such things.
Yes.
When I say Tamaya or Tamia
Or Tamia?
or Tamia,
No, not Tamia. Tamia.
well, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So thanks for pointing that out, Marty. Really appreciate it. Dave Waples writes in, hi, Dave. Well, I have a new topic for our next club meeting, which is when references go bad. You'll recall that Revell Germany decided to release what they call the PT-160/PT-559 torpedo boat. When I first heard that, I thought they would be releasing two different kits based on their previous two subjects of an early and late war Elco boat. I was wrong. I can't say for sure where Revell got their information, but I have found several photos of PT-160 as a test bed for the Thunderbolt gun system. The problem is that a publishing area, confirmed by me, the author, led to this photo being published on Hyperwar and NavSource website as PT-559. The Thunderbolt gun system in the photo includes 4 20mm Oerlikons and two 50mm Browning
50
caliber machine guns. The production version of the Thunderbolt only had 4 20mm Oerlikons. As a result of this information, Revell is now producing a kit which contains a prototype gun system that was never used.
Oops.
There you go. And he also says, thanks for passing along our club blog site. We've got a bigger than normal jump in viewers. Well, that's really great to hear, David. The site is mainly to support our in-person meetings. Not very professional, I'm afraid. Well, I disagree there, David. I thought it was extremely professional. And we have a number of folks in and out of the US that attend our in-person meetings. You're welcome to visit sometime, but you'll probably prefer sleeping. I think our meetings start around 4 a.m. your time. Take care, and thanks for putting on the great show. That's from Dave. And he also sent some pictures of the PTs in question. So thanks, mate. Let's have a... Dave Dillian writes in. I hope I got that right. Dillian? Yes, it is. Hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. As always, thanks for...
I think it says Dylan.
Dylan. What did I say?
Dillian.
Yeah, Dylan it is. Sorry. As always, thanks for a great podcast. Your musings continue to make the drive to work bearable. Dave, I thought you might be interested in watching a YouTube stream on Flory models. I heard Flory say that he will be building the dreaded yellow moulded CL215, which is that fire bomber.
Well, that's a callback because that was you spoke about that years ago.
No. It'll be interesting to see how he goes, as I saw an earlier video of where he called it a beautiful looking kit. Well, let's see if it comes around to your thoughts of the kit by the time he's finished it. I've got no doubts that Flory will do a better job than I could ever in attempt.
Tell you, standards are low if he calls it a beautiful looking kit, mate.
Thanks very much for that, Dave. Dylan. Gerald DeSells writes in, G'day Dave, Ian and Julian. Greetings again from Norway. Hope things are well down under. Well, as well as they could be. I recently completed my first ever ship models. Some pictures attached. It was a partially inspired by your podcast. When I came back to the hobby and began listening to On the Bench, you guys were more interested in ship models, so I thought it sounded like fun and I should try it. Well, Ian and I are still interested in ship models, but there's so many other distractions out there that we're building other stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
I reckon you guys are lapsed ship modelers.
No. I've made a thing once. I finished the Key 44. I'm hooking onto the kit that Chris Medding sent me.
Well, I'm doing a spaceship at the moment.
Doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't count.
Well, I think we all go through phases. You know, I'm currently in a car modelling phase.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. I've just got like this. I just want to polish things.
Shiny.
Yeah, I mean, like it's because it's a skill that I haven't sort of gotten to a point where I'm satisfied. So I just want to keep building car models until I get a nice enough, small, tiny off-road thing. Hasegawa do like a ceramic polish type thing, and I want to get that and try and use it.
Oh, you're going too deep now. This is
There's
too much.
one thing that he doesn't have to polish, and that's his ego.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? The car model I just finished it's okay. It's the best work I've done so far, but it wouldn't win any awards.
Oh, I tend to disagree with that. I think it'd go very well.
You'd win a participation award.
Yeah.
Gerald writes, continues to write, do you have any suggestions on a good plan for building ships, i.e. what to paint and when to attach certain items for both weathered and unweathered ship models? Also, can you recommend a good brass paint? I painted the screw 3 times with different paints and I'm still not happy with the result. Thanks for your help. This will not be my last ship model, but I will take a break from the genre. Well, what do you reckon, guys?
With ship models?
No, well, it's a question about
Good brass
paint. I think...
I usually just use Alclad.
Yeah, but I think what he's got is actually metal parts, and he's tried, like, because the... Well, first of all, let's have and unfortunately the listeners out there won't be able to see this, but his pictures that he's posted of his flower class HMCS Snowberry Corvette.
I don't think he needs any pointers, to be honest.
He's freaking amazing. That's a museum quality. That is
he has
brilliant.
done a fantastic job.
I can
That's a plastic screw on that, so he must be talking about actual paint.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'd go for the Metalizers paint range. And there's quite a few ones out there. SMH Paints do a really good brass one I use now.
I've never had any problem using Alclad.
Well,
for that.
the same as well.
Alclad over a gloss black surface, nice and thin.
So I've got a few suggestions that you might want to give a go. I can't say that they're necessarily better, but they definitely won't be worse. One, I would try the other lacquer-based metallizers that are similar to Alclad, but are supposedly either the same or better, which would be from MRP or SMS models. Then you've also got, there's 2 from Guns, I believe. There's the Super Metallics, which you airbrush on, and then there's the Mr. Metal color ones, which are supposed to be like the kind you burnish after, sort of polish up afterwards.
Yeah, the sort of wax-based ones.
Well, they're not really they're not wax-based at all.
Are they?
They're just lacquers, but they've got like a kind of property to them where you
Which is the one I'm thinking of then? There's one that's sort of like
there's
rub
like
and buff.
AK has like a couple as well. They have like the enamel ones, and they have the ones that come in a tube that you can rub and buff on.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But he's always asking about construction, wasn't he?
Yeah, and all the painting and stuff.
Yeah, well, what I usually do, the way I usually do it is basically work from the inside of the ship and then work outwards. So basically I just do my main superstructures and so forth as sub-assemblies, and then paint the hull, paint the deck, glue it all together, and then all the smaller bits you attach as you're working towards the outside of the model. So you're not working over the top of what you've previously been working on, so there's no worries about touching or damaging anything. Same with the rigging. The rigging always start at the very centre and then work outwards.
But looking at the pictures that Jerry sent, I mean, we should be asking him questions, not the other way around. That is a superb model.
That's some beautiful weathering too.
Yeah, it's really nice weathering.
Can I ask a dumb guy question?
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got to paint your deck and then add the railings after that. How do you go about painting the railings? Are they pre-painted before you glue them on?
Pre-paint them.
Yeah, same here.
Always pre-paint them before I glue them on.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get like a little bit of paint chipping.
Yeah.
We just got to touch up.
Right.
Yep.
And I always find that with attaching the railings to the deck, I always attach them and don't paint over the top of them, just in case there's like a little bit of extra glue, super glue sitting there, because if you paint over that, you're going to see a blob.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just pure super glue, it tends to blend in more and it's harder to see.
Just one more bit about the brass thing. Also, make sure you pay attention to your like surface preparation before putting the actual metalizer down.
Because any small scratch will just jump out.
Well, it depends on like if you want it to be shiny and sort of, like the polished brass. You need a polished surface for that. But if you want it to be a dull surface, then that's a different game.
Yep.
Another dumb guy question. Can you buy brass aftermarket screws for them, like propellers?
There are companies. There's a company out there that does do brass propellers. I've got a few of them. I just can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head.
And particularly for that flower class and 172nd scale, there's a whole host of aftermarket stuff you can purchase for it. So
you basically rebuild the whole kit just in aftermarket.
Yeah, the problem is though, if you're doing it to the degree of weathering that Jerry did, you can't have really bright, shiny sort of brass screws in it. They're going to be sort of weathered and pitted and all that sort of stuff. So it's a challenge.
The dull brass look, you reckon?
Dull,
definitely.
Not only the dull, but if you look at a screw that's sort of been in the water for a while, it's got barnacles all over it.
It's got a greeny tinge.
Yeah.
Where the copper and the brass starts to...
Maybe just leave your aftermarket screw outside for a couple of years.
The greeny tinge is an oxidization, right? That would come from being in air, not in water.
Like bits of I don't know, just matter.
Got to say too, if those barnacles are hanging on real good, if they can hang on to a propeller.
I got an email from our friends, the Model Geeks, in particular Frildo, and he was wondering when the Mooseroos Cup was supposed to be submitted. And I said to him, replied back, April.
Mm-hmm. What, you're wrong?
The cut-off date was actually March, so I told him April, so he'd miss it.
You cheat. You cheat.
That's mean.
He's like Professor Fate.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Phil knew I was only joking. I hope he does anyway. So. Just having a bit of a laugh at your expense, gentlemen. Paul Pendleton Brown writes in, good morning all. I know how much Julian loves our beloved Airfix up here in the UK.
He does, he loves them.
But this made me think of a question for you guys to debate, and I'm sure after only a few coffees it may wake up Julian so early in the program. So the question is, Airfix and Tamiya produce a BF 109. The Airfix model is to scale and accurate. The Tamiya model is short in the fuselage length. Which would you buy? The superior quality but with scale imperfections, or the accurate but inferior, quotation marks, Airfix example? There are plenty of companies out there that produce 109s, but for the sake of the argument, it would be interesting to hear your collective opinions on which is more important, accuracy or ease of build. Enjoy the conversation, and for reference, my wooden spoon is Teflon coated. Nothing sticks to it when I stir it. And by the way, just off out to visit a quaint Welsh fishing village, I think he means to say, just because I want to hear Dave pronounce the name and know it's not made up.
And go for it, Dave.
Yeah, have a go.
Oh, it's a Welsh name, so...
Lian Fairpwell Glwg, Glockersry, Chingro Drop, Willianti, Signalagologoch.
No, so the end of the part I know is pronounced go, go, go. Right? I know, because there's that video on the internet of like the news presenter actually pronouncing the full like name of some equally difficult to pronounce Welsh town.
And I'd say if you went to the local railroad station, that sign would take up the whole platform.
It would do.
So, well, now back to his question.
Yes, what do you reckon, Julian?
Well, so I believe that there's actually like it's a case by case basis. It's not a rule like I will always pick the higher quality kit, or I will always pick the
accurate,
the more accurate one. There are certain imperfections that I will let go, and certain imperfections that I will not let go. Any accuracies that, for example, the nose of a plane, the sort of the profile of the nose, that can really shape the face of the plane, and if that's inaccurate, I won't touch it. Like the Tu-2, the Russian twin engine thing from World War II.
Yep.
Other, length accuracies, I don't really care. Like, I'm not gonna go, oh, that's a nice model. Hang on, let me get out my tape measure. Oh no, I'll have to revise my opinion of it. I'm not one of those people. If it looks like a fairly nice model, I'm just gonna say it's a nice model. So it's a case by case basis. I would given that we're not talking about necessarily a kit that I'm looking at and which one I prefer. It's one that I'm actually building. Then I would probably enjoy the quality kit over the other one because, to some degree I can let slip accuracies, but I want to have a fun time building a model, and if it's going to give me a hard time, then I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, well, I'd be different because I would then go for the Airfix kit, but then I would probably spend 6 times the amount of what I spent on the Airfix kit on getting accessories. see, to dolly it up a bit.
I'd just buy the Wingsy kit.
But you can't do that. It specifically says you only get a choice between Airfix and Tamiya.
This guy has done the worst of all things. He's criticised Tamiya.
Oh no! Like it's not like Tamiya have a flawless reputation. There's certainly some of their older kits.
Come on, they release some. They release some Italeri kits.
Yeah. They do. But I mean, you just gotta pick them.
Yeah. I'm actually with John in the same camp as Julian. I'd go over ease of build against unless the accuracy was so punched you in the face that was wrong. But above and beyond that, I think ease of build is something that I'd prefer rather than 120% accuracy.
No, my OCD would just drive me nuts knowing that it's about 3 mil too short or something. It's just doing my head in.
Well, here's one for you. So what if there was a less accurate Canberra bomber in 48 scale made by Tamiya, but it went together like a dream?
In that case, but with previous experience, I'd go the Tamiya one.
There you go. See, I think it's a case by case basis. You have to weigh them, and however, because these two values are fighting in your mind, and there does come an extreme sort of point where one tips the scales, right?
Well, as we know between the four of us, that but the listeners don't know yet, is that the Canberra bomber that I started is now onto its 3rd builder.
Well, what happened was, so I picked it up and said, yeah, I'll finish that off, and I was just getting as peeved as you were, Ian. So then
the worst thing is it's so close to being finished.
I know.
Too.
I know. That's what tricks people into picking it up.
Yes,
because it looks like it's like, well, there's not much further to go on this. I'm not sure what you're complaining about, and then you sort of start working on it and go, oh, this is terrible.
Well, so I did a bit of work on it, and then I cracked it, and then I took it to the club, and I said, right, this is going to be a pass to parcel thing. So. Christian's got it at the moment.
Yeah.
Chris has got it. Yeah, Christian's got
it.
He's so the rule is, you take it away from the club meeting, to bring it back in 2 weeks to the next club meeting and pass it on to somebody else. But you have to do something to it each. So pass a parcel type of situation.
Yes, and it's got to be finished for Expo.
Yes, it does have to be finished by Expo. Paul, did we answer that question? I think you're happy with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
That Canberra kit, it's really like a project car that someone owns. Like, oh, this is a nice car. Why are you getting rid of this?
Yeah.
And then you pick it up and you're like, oh, there's a bit of rust there. Yeah. And then you're like, hang on, this rust goes all the way through to the chassis, and I'd need to cut that out and weld in a new piece. And this is getting out of control here. I think I'll move this on to someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to news from the Falcon, a shout out to Michael Pickles.
Yes.
Okay, Michael.
Yes, hello, Michael.
Write in and say good day. And, of course, if anybody wants to write in, you can do so. Send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Answer your questions. Take any abuse. Aim it all at Julian.
Yes.
And don't forget our Facebook page as well. Pop in there. And
I'm Teflon coated. It just sort of falls right off me.
You're like the spoon.
Yes. Speaking of spoons.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
So I came across this one YouTuber, and it sort of badges itself as a modeling channel. But really all it is all he does is review products, mostly paint, where he paints the spoons, right? There's a video where he shows his workspace, and it looks like a normal modeling room. There's these pile of kits and there's his bench, And then he's like, and here's my spoons. And he's got so many spoons that he's painted that he has to have them with like rubber bands around them to keep them all in an orderly fashion. So I've just sort of like it's become like a joke between me and a few other people that it's like, oh, the spoon guy.
I hope he's got a display cabinet of just all the spoons painted.
So many spoons.
You can just buy a spoon rack.
Most people would just go, okay, I've tested this paint on this spoon. I'm just going to throw the spoon away.
Yeah,
I've tested it,
I've got a real thing about these dudes who paint spoons. It just drives me nuts.
Why?
Okay.
Well, get a paint mule. You get a better idea and representation of what the paint's going to look like if you put it on a paint mule rather than the little plastic spoon that you use to eat ice cream at a local fairground or something. I don't know.
It's cost effectiveness, I think.
Well, that's what paint mules are for.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Well, this can't live long because plastic spoons are now out.
Oh, good point.
That might be why he's keeping all of his spoons so he can repaint them.
Yes.
So if you can't paint a bamboo spoon, it won't be quite the same, will it?
No.
Oh, that's correct, 100%. Okay, I wonder what the Falcons got to say.
Yes.
Hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. As usual, we will begin with aircraft news. Sabre Kits are releasing a limited edition of the Breda 27 Metallico. Yeah, that's right. The kit originally released by AZ Models is 1/72nd scale. There'll only be 100 of these made, so if you're interested, get right onto it.
You wonder how they can make money on just 100
They
kits.
must be asking a fair price for them.
Yeah.
But in 72nd scale? Maybe it's one of...
What is a Breda 27?
It's pretty ugly.
It looks a little bit like a P26, sort of like a fatter P26.
Yeah.
Okay. Trumpeter have now announced a 1/32nd scale Lockheed Martin F-37 Sea Lightning.
F-35.
What did I say?
37, Dave. Where do you get that
Maybe
from?
Dave knows something. Maybe there's something coming. It's the next
See,
generation.
The line above said 27, and my dyslexia picked up the 7 and supplanted it with the 5.
And there's like double spacing too.
God, dang it. Only CAD renders at this stage, so it'll probably be a while before it hits the stores. Start saving up now.
How much will that be? That'll be expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, $150.
Probably more, I reckon.
Maybe 170 Australian.
32nd scale, though. I reckon it'll be over 200.
Yeah, and 32nd scale, and it's a big plane,
Yeah.
and it's trumpeter. Trumpeted kits are not cheap anymore. We're long past that era.
True.
Also, Trumpeter is a new boxing of the 48 scale Chengdu J20 Mighty Dragon Beast Mode. The kit will go on sale in China in April 2022. As I learnt this week, when referring to aircraft, Beast Mode describes an aircraft fully loaded with ordnance.
Well, that kit will be very cheap because it's a Chinese vehicle.
Right.
It's just how it is, right? Like all the Trumpeter's cheapest kits are ones of their own domestic vehicles.
So it's a propaganda exercise.
Maybe.
Pretty much.
I don't know.
This next one will interest our mates over at the Geeks, because Hobby Boss will be releasing a new addition to their lineup of 72nd scale Skyhawks, a Douglas A4M, which is planned for release in late April. And isn't the world crying out? I think for a new Skyhawk.
Yeah, 48 scale.
48 scale would be wonderful.
Gee, you'd be wonderful.
I don't know why Hasegawa don't just keep popping out their Skyhawks, because people want them.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen the prices of
Yeah,
them?
they're massive.
Yeah.
If you can find one.
If you can find one.
And when they do like a run, but it's short and sold out within about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, we should be running Hasegawa. We'd know how to do it properly.
Apparently there's not as much money in those as there is in plastic noodle cups.
Yeah.
Hobby Boss are adding another variant of their Shanji Y9 to their 1/144th scale catalogue. I guess that's an aircraft of some description.
It is.
The Shanji K200/GX6, which appears to be a maritime patrol aircraft. Got no idea what that looks like.
No.
Me neither.
It looks like a maritime patrol aircraft.
Well, yeah. A Hobby pleased many with their release of their 72nd scale P-51B Mustang finally, there was an accurate P51B/C
Oh, it's a misting.
in 72nd scale. What's a misting
I
version?
think it might be a Mustang.
you reckon?
Just a typo, I think.
Either autocorrect.
In June, the P51B will be joined by the P51D/K. Hopes are high that it will set the standard for 72nd scale D Mustangs.
I always like that.
As an Armour fanboy, I will say I reckon it probably will. Because people really like the B. They seem to have got most things right. Yeah,
I reckon.
I don't like the people that like Mustangs.
Yeah.
It's an accurate one because apparently they used often most of the models use a D wing on the and it's just wrong. So.
I'm all in favour of there's an established series of Mustangs and they're all sort of average 90s era quality, and then someone brings out a new one that sort of ends the conversation. Like, this is the only kit to get.
Yeah.
If you want to do it in this scale.
AZ models continue releasing up-to-date Pavla kits. The next will be a 72nd scale Miles M38 Messenger. A vacuum formed canopy that came with the original Pavla release will be replaced by an injection plastic part.
No more yellow canopies.
From the schemes released by AZ, we can deduce there will be 4 boxings, 2 military and 2 civilian. The schemes are quite varied and attractive. If you're a fan of the Messenger, you might find you have to purchase all 4 releases.
I quite like the Messenger with this little triple tail.
Yeah, it's a odd-looking little aircraft.
It has a triple tail, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Those always look weird.
I like it.
Models Fit are re-releasing the 72nd scale kit of the Martini Beriev VVA-14, which is the wing and ground effect aircraft developed by the Soviet Union in the early 70s.
It says Bartini.
Well, yeah, that's what did I say, Martini?
Yeah.
Did I say Martini?
Yeah.
Just want a drink. That's what it is.
Micromere.
To be honest, I don't blame you for that one. Like, if you were just like glazing over it, you would. Most people would say Martini.
I think you need a bigger monitor. That's what you need.
Oh, jeez, I think I've got to stop drinking. Micromere have just shown CAD renders of a forthcoming 48 scale Supermarine S6/S6A/S6B. Not sure we will ever see the kit coming to fruition given recent events, which we're going to be talking about after this segment. In military news, TACOM have shown box art for a couple of new 35th scale armour kits. A Flak Panzer V Kubelblitz Spag, SPAAG.
Is that self-propelled anti-aircraft gun?
I think it sounds about right. And an Erstats M7, which is a slightly modified Stug 3 with US markings. I've seen that one. Both seem to be a bit controversial in the forums. Consensus is that the Kubelblitz turret on a Panther chassis didn't exist. It never even sketched on the back of an envelope. Well, it exists in drawings only.
Right.
I know that, but they didn't get it through to development. And the Erstats M7 name seems to be a TACOM invention. Apparently there is no mention anywhere that these US mark Stug Gs were supposed to mimic the M7 Priests.
It wouldn't even look anything like it.
No.
So this was a Battle of the Bulge era in which supposedly the Germans sort of painted up their Stugs to look like a with the American star and white star on the side. So
they did that with the Panthers, didn't they? Made them look like M10s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously there was that other section that dressed up as American MPs and used Willys Jeeps and everything and had the uniforms on and all that sort of stuff. But
they all basically stood against the wall when they were captured, weren't they?
I saw some of this talk on the forums, and people get really indignant over box art and the names of things, and it's I think that if the kit's right, then that's pretty much a win.
Yep.
Gecko Models have announced 3 new 35th scale kits. Well, not completely new. They are variations on previously released kits, some welcome nonetheless. A Daimler Armoured Car Mark II World War II version, a US Naval Amphibious Vehicle, a Lark V Extra Armour version, and a US Army Light Type Skid Steer Loader M400W with bar track. The Daimler would probably pique my interest. Gecko do nice kits, actually.
Yeah.
I've built one of theirs before, maybe two, I think.
There's been a lot of complaints about the Daimler because the suspension is so complicated.
Oh, well, I built the Dingo, which was the mini art one, and my God, that was complicated.
I think on the Daimler, the armoured car, it's something like 36 parts per suspension unit, so times 4.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Airfix have shown built-up test shots of their 45th scale Austin K2Y.
Yeah. I think that should be 35th scale.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Airfix, 35th scale
That's a
Austin
typo, not
K2Y.
Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Of the Katie Heavy Ambulance. It looks okay, not as nice as the Gecko's rendition, but as it doesn't seem to have any PE parts, it will probably appeal to modelers looking for a simpler build.
And aren't we all?
Oh, well, here we are. Biggest downside seem to be there are not great tread patterns on the tyres and the rolled-up canvas doors, which more resemble rolled-up wet lasagna sheets than canvas. A couple of opportunities there for the aftermarket guys.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
actually, when you look at the CAD that they showed, it looks exactly the same, but it's not a good rendition of canvas. Actually, even the Gecko one's not that great either. So.
Trumpeter are releasing a kit of the Russian T14 Armata in 1/72nd scale. Just CAD renders at the moment. Trumpeter also releasing a 1/35th scale BMP2 Baron's Shots turret. Baron's Cot. Hot.
How about Berejok?
That'll do. Hobby Boss will release a 1/35th scale German Tiger 2 Porsche turret early production vehicle Farb Geschler number or NR
Would you like to have a go, Ian?
0009.
Fagstella.
All right, that'll do. As
I think it probably just means production.
Yeah, I'd say production.
It always cracks me up when you do the more accurate one and it's completely different to what Dave's whipped up. I think he just takes a bit of a creative license, He really sort of tries.
Yeah, so production number 2828009.
yeah, as being so very specific, I assume there will be only a single marking option, says the Falcon.
So.
Also from Hobby Boss in 1/35th scale is the Chinese ZTZ-99A main battle tank. The box art does not show it driving through the streets of San Francisco.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Wasn't there a lot of talk online about that one?
Yeah.
Oh, look, Falcon's talking about some ship news. Edward to release a limited edition 1/350 scale kit of the USS Arizona. Plastic is from Trumpeter, but Edward adding a slew of update parts. 3D printed parts include 2 Kingfisher Scout planes, anti-aircraft directors, anti-aircraft guns, winches, searchlights, air vents, plus some other things I couldn't identify. Also in the box are 5 photo etched frets and turned aluminium barrels for the main and secondary armament. That's all from now from the Falcon.
Yeah, I wonder what they'd be charging for that.
Oh, I don't know.
It wouldn't be cheap,
Yeah,
but then
wouldn't be cheap.
again, you don't have to buy any aftermarket because it's got it all.
I would suggest that would probably be hitting the Australian market at around $350.
Oh, then again, I've spent more.
Yeah.
I've spent more on ship kits, so
It's interesting that Edward seemed to be getting out of resin and going for 3D printing.
yeah.
Maybe it gives them a better product.
Well, think about it this way: you don't need to break it. You don't need to pour molds. You
Yeah.
don't need to, break things out of them carefully. You just
Print 'em.
fill up the bath and press a button. And once you've got everything, set up and dialed in and working.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just speaking of Edward, I don't know whether you guys saw they put up the figures of the kits they've sold and the amount of things they sell.
Yeah.
Surprisingly small numbers.
Really?
Yeah, they're like a few hundred of a etch set, and I thought, well, geez, it hardly seems worth setting up to make it. So few. Yeah, it's Edward are an amazing company. It would normally be secret information, and they say how many kits they'll sell of the Spitfire. Apparently, the Spitfire, I think they sold 6,000.
Yeah, they sent out a list, and it was like the how many of the different aircraft kits sold worldwide.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they're doing that and sort of, putting it commercial?
Maybe they're
confidence
trying to
sort of
guilt
stuff
us
out?
all.
No. Well, yeah.
Till
Kills
the
us into
zeros
buying
don't-
more.
Ian, you haven't bought enough Spitfires.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, I've got the Mark V Southern Star on order. So that's another Spitfire boxing, which is a dual combo. I'm still waiting for my Zero Weekend Edition to come in.
Yep.
I think they're releasing a Korean War Mustang as well. So another Mustang I might have to get my hands on.
You don't have to buy all the Mustangs.
But they look so nice. And they've got such great paint schemes. Because the Korean War one's got basically a heap of, I think, 5 or 6 Americans.
Yeah.
Dual boxing, maybe even more. It's
Have
got
you
Australian.
built? You did build one of the Mustangs.
I have
didn't
built
you?
one of the Mustangs.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's got an Australian one and South African.
I like the
is
South
it?
African
Me too.
market.
And it's a dual combo. So I'm thinking if I get that, I might do an Aussie one and a South African. Because South African ones look pretty cool with the orange. It's an orange
Springbok, I think.
Yeah, Springbok. Yeah.
It looks cooler than our kangaroo, doesn't it?
I don't know.
It looks more dynamic, the shape of it.
Yeah, it does look more dynamic because it's jumping. But
Yeah. Ours is better because it's red instead of orange.
yeah,
which
that's right.
looks-
But then again, orange is more the
Yeah.
Zuid-Afrikaans.
just doesn't stand out as well as the
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, we've got quite a few listeners in South Africa.
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying the red stands out more than the orange.
And,
because-
and being the orange goes back to their Dutch heritage.
Yeah.
The House of
The
Orange.
Boer.
The
Can
Boer.
I just say,
Yeah.
Ian, Eduard are releasing kits faster than you can build them.
So, what's that got to do with it?
And yet
What has that got to do
He's
with it?
buying them faster than they can release them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well,
They
the
can't
thing
keep
is-
up.
And I'm not even getting down to boxings. They're releasing kits faster than you can build them. Right? So the fact that they keep bringing out new boxings and you buy those as well,
Well,
that's not
yeah,
a...
no, it's a bit silly because I have. I think there's only one boxing I don't have of the Mustang, and that was a limited edition. I think they had it out on eBay or something. Was the Excalibur, which I think was the first boxing they ever did of the P51 Mustang. That was like a preview Excalibur kit.
Right.
All the other ones I have.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that because I don't care what anyone says. I love building that plane. It was great. It had some fiddly bits, some bits I've learnt with the next builds to do.
Yep.
But for the first kit I built of that range, I absolutely loved it and I was happy with the way it turned out.
What are you going to do when they bring out all the various variations of the Zero?
I'll just
You'll buy them.
collect zeros.
You're going to do all of them.
I'll
course
do
you
as
will.
many as I can, yeah. Except I will have to buy one Hasegawa Zero. And that'd be the prototype one because I don't think they're releasing the prototype Zero.
Yeah, I haven't seen any talk of that.
No.
He's got space because he's giving me all these F190s.
And there's a
FW190s.
and there's a what do you call it? The piggyback.
Yeah.
Mistel. Yeah, you have the Mistel.
You want that too, do you?
God damn, I have to make it.
JU88 with a Focke-Wulf 190 sitting on top of it.
The only other news I've got is that there's a dude out there and he's got a blog that he writes, and he writes up a report on each of the podcasts episodes that come up. Not
What?
just ours, yeah, but all the other...
Every episode.
Every episode.
Like a recap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he sits down and he listens to each episode and writes a
dedication.
review. And if you want to hunt for this dude, it's just type in model musings from a Cavalier cat, and it will bring up his blog where he talks about all the different shows, but each episode as well. So I've got to take my hat off to his dedication to sit
it's great,
there and
yeah. I've
listen to it.
read a few of them, and
Is he complimentary?
He's honest.
He's honest.
He's honest.
that's
Yeah.
Like, if we do something that he doesn't agree with, he'll say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem with it
No,
Okay.
I don't either.
because it helps us in future episodes to up our game a bit if we can.
But I'm just staggered he's got the time to sit and do it.
He's an internet historian, is he?
Oh, I don't know. He's an internet historian. He's more of a.
Well, he's cataloguing all of our work, right?
Yeah.
No, he's a critic, like a movie critic, except he's doing it for
right. I
podcasts.
get you. How,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get what you mean now.
Yep.
Those who can do, those who can't critique.
Yes.
Oh, that's very, very deep.
I'm not sure how deep
So
it
it's
is.
almost like that's a saying that you found somewhere.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I've added a little bit, of course. Those who can't do those, or those who can do, those who can't teach. I just changed it a bit. But copyright.
Well, since I judge at Model Expo, that means I critique, but I also build.
True. So that just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, I know. That's why
You're just taking the wind out of your sails.
That's right. I love taking the wind out of his sails.
Be quiet, Julian.
I'm quite literally poking holes in his sails.
All right, we have a very short break. We come back and we're going to talk about what's happening in our modelling sphere in regards to Ukraine and Russia. Back very shortly. Whether you build aircraft, armour, ships, science fiction, cars or figures, the Fine Scale Modeller magazine provides the how-to information you need to take your modelling to the next level. In each issue of Fine Scale Modeller, you'll find clear how-to features on model assembly and finishing written by experts, reviews of the hottest model kits and products, tips and techniques for assembling, painting and finishing, as well as inspiring photos of readers' models. To find out how you can get your copy of Fine Scale Modeller, go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and we're back to talk about our keynote subject, which is how our hobby's being affected by the issues that are currently affecting Ukraine, in which Russia has...
Did you just say Ukraine?
Oh, sorry. Ukraine, where Russia has gone in and launched an invasion for, and certainly I'm 100% against it. I don't think that war is any sort of solution to anything.
There's better ways of sorting stuff out.
And, it's certainly a heart to go out to the Ukrainian people and all the issues and struggles they're undergoing at the moment. And what we're hoping to do without politicising this is just to talk about how it's going to actually affect our hobby, putting aside the tragedy behind all this, given that we've become used to and been spoilt indeed by the amount of manufacturing that's come out of
good
both
quality.
Yeah, it's come out of both Russia and the Ukraine in regards to model companies, and regardless, and putting aside, as I said, the human tragedy on all this, there is an effect on our hobby which we sort of love and enjoy, and hence the reason why sort of Robert's coming along, because he's done a little bit of research into the different modelling companies, and by no stretch of imagination is it a complete.
It's I don't know how complete it is. There's a lot of stuff there.
There is.
I've probably missed out on a bit of stuff, but I think it's just the list is just enough to tell you how important Ukraine is to the modelling fraternity. It's I would be surprised if it's about half the modelling companies.
Wow,
are there? It's just amazing.
Well, it's a good point to start from. So how about we sort of tick off the companies that we know or aware of that are in the Ukraine that are actually modelling companies.
Well, okay then. I've got a list here. We'll just run through them pretty quickly. We've got Dora Wings, ICM Models, Mini Art, Masterbox, Roden, Armoury Models, Arsenal Model Group, AMG, Avis, Rich Models, Unimodel, ANA Models, Micromia, Wingsy Kits, Clearprop, Modelsvit, Big Planes Kits, AIM Fan Mode, Art Model, Mars Models, and did I say A Model? I don't remember. We've also got in aftermarket print scale decals, BS decals, Dan Model, Res Kit, Metallic Details, and Rex, the people that do the metal exhausts, the metal deposit.
And wasn't it Proper Planes as well, do the wooden propellers?
Right. So
they're based there as well, to my knowledge.
And there's also some fairly well-known retailers, Models UA, Hobby Terror, I think, is another one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of others. I mean, it's a big thing.
It's a big segment of our hobby that's suddenly been cut off from us.
And I think they do work for other people as well.
Yes.
Because as I said to you guys earlier, I believe Gecko work with Rich Models, so they might be having troubles as well too. So it's a big list, and also that seems to be where the energy is in modelling at the moment in Ukraine and Eastern Europe. I mean, Japan is not doing a lot. I mean, Airfix put out 2 or 3 kits a year, so it seems to be the hotspot for modelling, and we don't know what's going to happen. how long things can last. Some of these companies may never get back into production again. Some of the people might get killed. I mean, it's just anything could happen. So it's and it's a bit of a tragedy. Like, I think you'll get a bit of pushback from people. You notice online, people are saying, "Oh, what are you busy talking about models before when there's people's lives are at stake?" But also at stake is the people who've started the businesses and committed their lives, basically.
Yeah, their livelihoods, absolutely.
And their hopes and dreams to running these things. And if they were to lose them, that's a tragedy. And also for the people that work there, I mean, what are they going to do for money? What are they going to live on? So, it's...
And it's a flow-on effect too from an economic point of view when you look at a business. Because when a business starts up, that means there's tax dollars that go to the government of the country wherever they're residing.
Yeah.
There's, the guys going out and getting a coffee at their, lunch breaks and all that sort of stuff. So there's all that sort of microeconomics that's sort of built around a company, let alone the tragedy of the actual manufacturing base itself sort of disappearing, if not stalled. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, you've got the Russian companies that are also going to be affected by the sanctions and economic sanctions that are being levelled against Russia because of this now. Quinta Models. Pacific Crossroad Models is another Russian... Did I get that right? Pacific Crossroad Models?
Yeah, Pacific Crossroads.
Pacific Crossroad Models, Zvezda.
Which are a big company.
A huge company.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to be able to ship their stuff out. They're not going to be able to receive finances into the country necessarily to sort of pay for the stuff. Yeah. So there's the flow-on effect of that. And that's where I struggled with people, and I get where the passion was coming from. They wanted to boycott Russian modelers or model companies. But, they're not the ones who are in power.
That's true.
So what you're doing is you're affecting, once again, as much as the guys in Ukraine have been affected, you're affecting something else that's not involved in politics, and all they're doing is trying to, eke a living out of what they're doing.
And also, but the other side of that is that the money they make, taxes go to the government.
Yeah, so, okay, that's true too.
But you can certainly understand, it's like, we've got nothing to do with it. Putin didn't ask me whether to invade.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then also by saying you're going to boycott it, what about those brick and mortar hobby shops that have already got those models, have purchased them and they're in stock?
Yeah.
I mean, they're left holding the bag too if you're going to turn around and say, I'm going to sort of boycott it. Where's the line?
That's right. Nobody's winning. I mean,
no. I mean, there are better ways, I think, to register your protest against this than to turn around and say, I'm not going to buy models from that company anymore.
Also, you might have trouble buying them because not only is there the government boycotts. Apparently, many of the wholesalers are saying, right, that's it. We are not getting.
Yes, and Ian, you heard some news about this, didn't you? An Australian.
That was me. I think.
Oh, sorry, that was you, Julian. Yeah.
Yeah, the Australian distributor for Zvezda has dropped them.
Yeah.
So
how is that in? What? I'm struggling to, and I get the passion and the reasoning behind it, but how does that have an effect or try to sway the way the Russian leadership are thinking by stopping, you buying a model? I don't see how that is going to have an effect.
Well, I suppose they think if they put pressure on all over the economy, then that will cause the leadership to...
Well, that's like singling out a baker who's, in some suburb in bloody Moscow saying, I refuse to buy, a croissant from you or a borscht. I'm not going to buy a borscht from you anymore. I mean, all you're doing is you're hurting that poor guy who's just way down in the pecking order of things. And he's not going to go, oh, well, because nobody's buying these from me now, I'm going to go and protest.
Yeah.
And he goes out and protests and gets locked up for 2 weeks.
Yes, I guess it's just really going to be a personal decision for most people, what they feel comfortable with. So,
Yeah.
Because people want to do something and that's the only thing they can do. They're not going to grab a gun and...
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
But I think, though, ultimately, they've Zvezda bring out a kit they want. They'll buy it.
If they can get it.
If they can get it.
Well, look at the C-130s they brought out.
Yeah.
I mean, they were gorgeous kits. They are gorgeous kits. And, a lot of the guys here in Australia have been making them because they do come out with Aussie decals and everything.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the finish, and they're absolutely superb. And as a modelling company, they've come a long way from where they were with those models they originally started with. That was shockers. But, they've built upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's interesting, though, slightly changing the subject a bit, the Ukrainian model companies are still attempting to operate. I think it's Models Vid are still able to send out kits because they actually have their warehouse for their kits is in Hungary.
Oh, okay.
So they're still able to, and apparently it's full, so they're able to still sell kits. Who was it? Dora Wings, who are making the Volta Vengeance.
Yes.
They're still taking pre-orders and apparently sending the money to the Ukrainian military fund, and they intend to send the kits out when they can. I mean, nothing's being sent out at the moment because everything's just stopped. But they still want to keep going. And I think a lot of us heard when the invasion came, we thought, well, that's the end for all the companies. But they're going to want to continue because it's their thing. And they have a passion for modelling. I mean, that's one of the big things about Ukraine and why I think it's so successful is they have a passion for modelling there. I mean, you hear talk about, they get help from the government to set up small business and all that sort of stuff. But their kits are good because they're really into it.
Yep.
And they want to do really good kits.
Yep.
So a few other companies could learn from that.
And they've been producing kits that people want in recent times as well.
Sometimes ones they didn't even know they wanted.
Yes.
Some interesting subjects come out. But I tell you what, when you think about the number of kits that people are looking forward to this year that just won't be coming out.
Yeah, the Vengeance for starters for me.
Yeah. But there's ICM we're bringing out a whole bunch of stuff. There's that big helicopter, the lift helicopter, the
Sky
Tahe.
Crane. The Sky Crane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That won't be coming. The Ki-21, the Japanese bomber, which people are going for nuts for.
Me too, yeah.
Gone. So I'm sure they will want to bring these out at some point, but if Kiev gets taken, that's going to put a big stop on things because I don't know what they'll do then. I just wonder, well, it depends on the situation. They may have to move from Kiev and maybe go to Lviv because hopefully that won't be taken over as well. They may have to move to another country. But it's just going to put a break on modelling, well, at least for 12 months, maybe more.
And the interesting thing about these manufacturers in the Ukraine, they were actually manufacturing in Ukraine as well. So they weren't doing what other modelling companies have done and outsource the injection moulding out to China or India. They were actually doing it in-house at home, which...
I saw the wages in Ukraine and they're very, very low, so that they can probably afford to do it over there.
My fantasy is I imagine like some guy from one of these modelling companies and he's escaping across the border with a briefcase that has the moulds in it. Kind of like
strong.
Like all those sort of 80s spy movies where there's like the nefarious guy and he's got like the metal plates for printing off money. It's kind of like that, except it's model kits instead.
Well, speaking of that, back in 2014, when Russia went in and annexed Crimea, Mini Art were in Simferopol. I'm not sure if that's Simferopol, whatever. And they moved from there to Kiev.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they just packed up most of everything and went to a new factory in Kiev. So they're nimble enough to be able to do that. So they might do that later. It depends on the conditions.
Yeah, and what comes to pass eventually.
But one thing about modelling too is that so much of it being CAD is like people can work at their computer and home and send the CAD off to somewhere else where it can be turned into moulds. So
I think the difficulty comes in the actual physical manufacturing side of it, and it's not easy just to pick up a die, which is, and then just because they're heavy. You can't do a Julian and just put it in a
exactly.
briefcase.
Like it's actually not.
They
even
are
if
massive blocks of metal.
Yeah. Like if you've ever seen like the video of how the factory works at Bandai, they actually have like the overhead cranes to lift these blocks. Like these molds.
So not very portable.
No, they're not.
No.
And I well remember when I used to work in the plastics industry many decades ago. exactly the same thing. You'd get a big crane in to sort of lift them out, and it's not an easy process getting it set up. You get the machine dialed in and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite a complicated sort of business. And then you got the manufacturing of the boxing that all goes into as well. And then you've got the distribution of it. I mean, yes, you can pick those links up, but it takes a long time to get restarted again.
Yeah.
And it costs you a bucket load of money to do that
That's
as
true.
well.
One thing I did think is that I think many of the moulds that the guys are using over there are probably the resin with the metal
Inserts.
coating. And so they'll probably be lighter. I don't know. But here's another interesting thing I found out too. Models Vet are really, was Models Vet or Micromi? I think it's Models Vet, are on Facebook a lot. And they had a picture of a burnt out APC, and they said this is 100 metres from our production facility.
Wow.
So things are getting very close.
Yeah, and you know, and I do get also where the argument people say, oh, you know, it's just modelling, and you know, when you compare that to what's actually happening there, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's like people are going nuts over the Antonov that, you know, got destroyed because it's all one only in the world, and all the aeroplane lovers are sort of losing their mind over that. I get that. I don't necessarily get the criticism of people saying, well, it's just an aircraft, why are you getting upset? But, you know, it's these things that are occurring in our lifetime are, because it's in our lifetime, we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
And we can still mourn the loss of a one only type aircraft and still be sympathetic to what's actually happening. Just because you're mourning the loss of a particular aircraft, or indeed the loss of models that we're not able to get, does not mean we're not sympathetic with what's actually happening over there. And in fact, if it wasn't for the fact that we were into modelling, we probably, you know, half of us probably wouldn't even care what's happening over there.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that we're deeply engaged at some level that we have that interest and that empathy for what's occurring.
That's right. I mean, you can have two thoughts at the same time.
You can. And just because you have one thought doesn't mean you're excluding all other thoughts. Yeah. So, you know, just ease up a bit, gents, when you're sort of talking to each other online, and you know, just have a care for each other.
I suppose the ones that sort of say, "Oh, I ordered them a kit and I've lost $20." that's probably a bit much, but
yeah. Oh, such is life. What else you got there, Robert?
I'm just going through my scribbled notes. I'm trying to read them.
And of course, the drag did, and it's, you know, this kicked off between our last episode and this episode. That's how sort of rapid it's been.
Yeah.
And I know that I sort of had a talk to Ian and Julian about whether we should do this or not do this. I thought that because we're a modelling podcast and we're talking about the modelling aspect, that it's important that we do sort of talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just keep the politics way out of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know, it's just a tragedy.
It is, yes.
I'm just wondering too, like Ian, this is big for you. Copper State Models, I'm not quite sure where they do their stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I remember when Copper State Models started, it was three or four guys.
Yeah, it was in the US, wasn't it, originally? Yeah, they sold it.
Well, yeah, these guys apparently who met on modelling forums bought Copper State Models, which did resin stuff and metal stuff, and they turned it into a injected plastic company. But I'm not sure where their production facilities are. I think they actually work in different countries and sort of send it through electronic means and all the CAD stuff that they do.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look on their website.
What about the other aspect of this where, I mean, I've seen people get sort of shouted down, but they're where they're now sort of posting pictures of models they're producing of the current conflict.
Yeah.
And even more so dioramas of the current conflict. I'm really torn about that. I think dioramas, for me personally, is perhaps a bit too much.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily the same in regards to a model of a tank that's represented that's actually in action now. Yeah. Although there's a part of me that sort of thinks not while it's actually happening.
Too soon.
It's
too soon.
But then that begs the question, when is it not too soon to do it?
I think while it's happening is probably too soon.
Yeah, but look, I mean, geez, you had models of equipment that was being used during the Afghan war, which went on for
Well, that's true. Yeah.
however long, and helicopters and all that sort of stuff. But that didn't seem to be not too soon.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm sort of struggling to sort of understand.
Well, let me put this situation forward. If someone sets out to make a diorama of a Russian vehicle, is that bad? But then compare that to they've already got a diorama of a Russian vehicle and they alter it to be specifically from this conflict.
I think dioramas per se, while the event is occurring, just doesn't sit right with me, regardless of what it's reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
But a straight model of a tank, while that's still, or aircraft for that matter, I mean, the Ghost of Ukraine, people kept saying, I'm going to build one of these now, in those sort of colours, which was the Ukrainian aircraft supposedly which shot down 5, which is still debatable whether it's actually occurred or not. I'm a bit on the fence whether, again, that's a sort of too soon call, but I guess the question I'm sort of asking is, having decided that perhaps it's a too soon call, when is it not too soon to be able to start doing that?
That's true.
Based on,
Well, we're still in shock about it, really, aren't we?
Well, that's true. 100% that's true. Yeah. So, Julian, would you do a model of one now? Or would you think it's a bit wrong?
I'm not like the scenario that I mentioned previously, where you alter an existing finished model to be one in the conflict. I think that's a bit too much, because that was already a finished model. It already had like a particular vision and style to it, and then you just altered it to be relevant at the moment. That's going a bit too far, I think.
Yeah.
If you start a project with the outset of I want to sort of do a model of what's currently going on, that's a bit that's not the same thing. That's a different intention.
Yeah. Sorry, just to jump in, Copper State Models is based in Latvia.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, they might be next.
Well, that's a relief.
For a
No,
while.
I mean a relief that Latvia, not that it might be next.
You were saying about whether we should be doing stuff of a current event, but I think all Russian models are on the nose at the moment, because I was talked about at the Model Club last night. Mentioned I'm building the Soviet gun from World War II, and people are raising eyebrows that I'm building a Russian thing. So I think for a little while, people are going anything to do with Russia is going to be sort of
On the
frowned
nose?
upon. Yeah. So
That's an interesting, it's an interesting point of topic, because obviously there's a lot of people out there who like to build World War II German subjects. But if Germany went to war and were the sort of villains of the conflict again, would that then tarnish anyone who wanted to build this older subjects?
Right.
Yeah, good point. Don't know.
Well, should those people be sort of tarnished anyway?
Well, I mean, these are the things, like, it's somewhat acceptable. Well, it's mostly acceptable now, but I mean, is there a situation that could occur where it would no longer make it acceptable?
Yeah. I'm just wondering how bad the modern Germans would have to be that people would look at the Nazis and say, "Oh, well, they weren't too bad."
Yes,
having kitten cannons or something like that.
Yeah. Like they're like, "Oh, I see you built something German. Oh, well, at least it's not one of the new ones." Jeez.
Yeah. Don't know. It's just,
I mean, ideally speaking, the models should be completely separate from the real world consequences and ideologies and things like that, because you're just building, like a smaller version of a thing. But that's not how it works out in reality.
it's not, because people, modelling is an expression of, current themes and thoughts and morality of society and political leanings and a whole heap of things.
I look at modelling as just for me, it's history. It's history, and what's happening now is current history, and it hasn't unfolded fully yet. So myself, I wait till history's fully unfolded before I jump into the subject. That's why you won't find any. I don't have any. Well, actually, I was telling a lie. I might have one or two modern kits of modern vehicles in my collection. Everything else,
you almost need
I
like
think
50 years for the dust to settle.
Stops at about the Korean War.
Yeah, see, I'm happy to build modern stuff, but I'm not happy to necessarily build modern stuff as to what's occurring now. It just feels wrong.
Would you build a Ukrainian thing? Because that seems to be everyone is, I'm going to build a Ukrainian thing. So,
well, that's an interesting sort of point. So is that because we see, we know who's wearing a black hat in this situation? Are we less likely to do that because they're the black hatters against the white hatters? It's an interesting question you pose.
Yeah,
good guys and bad guys.
But when you go online, there's some people think that the hat's the other way around.
Yes, yeah, well, that's true too. And I guess
quite a lot.
Yeah, and going down that path sort of steps us back into the political arena, which I'm really keen to sort of keep away from.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I didn't mention
because I have heard of those other arguments, and look, potentially some of them hold weight. But
well, here's a scenario: what happens if you do what you think is the good guys at the time? Then 10 years pass, and you're like, oh, that's kind of
not so
I was
good.
On the wrong side of the line with that one.
Yeah.
You know, and you can say, well, I had limited knowledge of what was going on at the time, but then does that still mean that your model is in bad taste or not?
Yeah.
Like hindsight being what it is, I mean it's still just a model, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. There's a lot of grey area to this.
But see, here's the thing also. Just because you do, build German armour aircraft from World War II, that doesn't make you a Nazi. Just because you build Russian armour now, modern armour, doesn't mean you're pro-Putin.
No.
See,
I think the contentious part when you're talking about World War II history is that there are people who are in those sort of extreme views.
very few and far between, I'd say.
Oh, I met one.
Yes.
Yeah.
All I did was posted a science fiction subject and got pretty much called out as being a war-loving Nazi.
Yeah, that's right. You did too. Science fiction.
You are not a Nazi. You're a war lover, but not a Nazi.
If I were that person, knew my family's history that fought tooth and nail against Nazi occupation.
Yeah, exactly right. I know, and yeah, I see what you're saying, Julian, and I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of grey areas all dotted throughout this landscape, both current and in the past, right? And it does interest me how, as things change, as more things come to light, and, areas that were thought to be black or white become grey again.
Yes.
It does, everyone's got, different points at which they draw the line, right? Some people can detach themselves very easily from, especially older conflicts, whereas other people can't let things go. I for example, we've often talked about how our model club, will have a display of Japanese aircraft at a local event, and people will come up and say, I can't believe you are doing, Japanese subjects. My grandfather died in this conflict. But they'll turn a blind eye to all the Nazi planes that are
on the table next door.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
So
when we did the show, we got a lot of negative stuff,
And
especially from the non-modelling community.
So what Robert's referring to that is the model club actually built a 1/72 scale,
148
scale, Shoho aircraft carrier, part of.
Yeah, well, the top part.
Yes, and then
the wet part, not.
Yes, the deck part.
Yeah,
and then obviously, and then the aircraft to go on top of that.
Yeah, we took it to a sort of non-modelling show. It was like a hobby show, all hobbies, and it was quite a bit of what are you doing? They didn't like the Japanese
and that was
flag.
in the 2000s.
Yeah,
yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Some 70 years after the war.
Because I think if you take the moral coward version, which I'm going to go, is I wouldn't make a model of the current event things, just to don't upset anyone. If you want to make it, keep it in your cabinet at home. Don't post pictures on Facebook. don't take it to a model show. So that's a moral coward's way, but hey, it works for me.
I think you're being respectful, not offending other people too.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not just that. You're just dodging potential arguments and trouble. It's like you don't need that hassle. You enjoyed it. You enjoyed building it, didn't you? I mean, just keep it to yourself. But if you're gonna post it on the internet, if you're gonna put it in a public forum, it's no longer private.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, you are making a political statement.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
100%.
And you're opening yourself to the opinions of others. You can't say you can't have that opinion about my thing. No, you put that in the public space. It's not. It's for everyone to talk about now.
Yes.
And this is supposed to be a fun hobby, really.
Well, that's right. And I think, and again, that's why I thought it was sort of important we sort of touched on it and spoke a little bit about it as well.
Overall, making military things is a little bit of a touchy subject generally. I mean, sometimes you think, maybe should I be making a car rather than a death-dealing machine? But death-dealing machines are so cool. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I do make planes, I don't like doing trainers, and I don't I don't really do reconnaissance, even though that's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trainers, and they're boring. Civilian planes, boring. I'm not doing airliners.
Yeah.
I'm not doing Cessnas. No.
It's even hard to buy models of it. I mean, obviously the interest is in military stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the interest is there. That's why there's so many kits of military subjects.
Well, that's interesting because Sylvester do quite a lot of airline subjects, so that part of the market's going to dry up now for quite a while because they're not going to be able to get them out.
Apparently a lot of airliners came out of Ukraine as well, so I heard some airline people saying, we're in some trouble because we won't be able to get kits.
Yeah. So Sylvester did airliners,
Yeah.
still do. So you're going to struggle to get hands on them now.
Also thought too, with Wingnut Wings went down the toilet, Roden were going to looked like they were going to take over the 32nd scale World War I aircraft, but now they'll be out of the picture for a while. Let's hope it's only for a while, not forever. Yeah, so it's going to also affect some sectors more than others as well. So.
Well, God forbid that there should be something that happens in our part of the world, in Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, God. I mean, that's the other half of the market over here.
Yeah.
All you'd have left is, let me think now.
Airfix.
Airfix.
Oh, no, you have Edward in Czechoslovakia.
Edward, yeah, Czechoslovakia,
Hello?
absolutely.
Actually, Edward is like the golden example. Yeah. But actually, when you look at Eastern Europe, I mean, the Czech Republic, is that right now?
Yeah.
The Czech Republic. They're also a bit of a powerhouse as well.
Yes,
but Poland is starting, like with armour.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of good stuff. IBG, turning out lots of stuff.
Yes.
Mirage Hobby, I'm not sure they've put out anything new for a long time. But they're still going. So, yeah. I've never been to Eastern Europe. I don't know what it is. Why do they like models so much? I mean, there's great modelling, like actual great modellers coming out from there.
Maybe because it gets so cold there and
Maybe
they've got
that's
nothing
it.
to do during winter.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, somebody once told me that the Hungarian model show is perhaps one of the best,
Is that
European shows.
Moson?
Yeah,
Moson,
I think it
yeah.
might be, and I stand corrected.
Yeah.
But apparently that's, one of the top sort of shows to go to around the world.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just like there's a lot of top modelers sort of, living in that part of the world.
Yeah. And yet a big country like America haven't got anyone left.
Well, there are a few left in the US, but there's not the powerhouse that they used to be.
Yeah, but they're not making new kits. They're sort of like repopping old ones.
Yeah.
it might have something to do with like connection to the actual conflicts themselves. Like a lot of your generation got very into models because
age thing again. You old guys.
Well, I'm an extra generation separated,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
So like your generation, and I got into models because my dad was into models,
Yeah.
right? And so your generation got into models because you had relatives who were in the conflicts.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, my dad grew up during the Battle of Britain. He told me stories where he'd watch the Luftwaffe sort of fly, because he grew up in Rye, and watch the Luftwaffe fly over on their bombing raids. And they'd run around collecting all the shells that had fallen out of aircraft, and used to toss them against the wall to try and make them go bang and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And my grandma told me a story about pushing my mum in a pram in London with the doodlebugs sort of flying over and all this sort of stuff. And then of course we grew up with the movies from World War II that were so prevalent during the 50s and the 60s, like Sink the Bismarck and the Battle of Britain and
Battle of the
Bulge and all those sort of classic war movies, and that's what fed us.
Yes.
And we didn't have computers or anything like that. The only way we could have our outlet was to grab a stick and you chuck dirt bombs at each other, rocks, or you'd go and buy a plastic kit, which costs nothing now when you think about it, and stick it together and paint it and stick firecrackers in it. It was awesome childhood.
Yeah, now imagine that you grew up in Eastern Europe and you've got hundreds of years of conflict there, really. But let's just say it's the last 100 years or so of conflict. You've got grandparents who are involved. You've got, parents who are involved.
And indeed, you're walking past places in which it was involved.
They've still got tanks in, playgrounds over there.
Yeah.
Probably
Eastern
bullet
Europe.
holes in walls.
Yeah.
And also, too, with Eastern Europe, it was being sort of controlled by the Soviet Union. The Great Patriotic War is massive. It's sort of like as big as the World War II in Britain. And it was apparently all the time, so it's been good for modelling.
Yeah, it has.
I think that's a good when there's personal touches on people for the conflict, it leads them into scale modelling more.
Or has a potential to.
Yeah. Don't know what makes them such good modellers though.
Well, the more models you have, the higher the concentration, the stiffer the competition.
Yeah, true.
Right,
But
and everyone's like bouncing off each other. Oh, you tried that new technique, and Ian's had a profound effect on a lot of modelers in our group with being the guy who got into resin and photo etch and stuff before others and dragged them down that rabbit hole.
I remember doing my first ever photo etch, and that was in the old Monogram 48 scale P40B. And geez, that must be 20 odd years ago, if not, probably about close to 30 years ago when photo etch first came out. Photo etch and basic smelly, that really stinky resin.
Yep.
The stuff that was good for you.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think I was the first person in the whole group of peak modelers I knew that actually attempted to use aftermarket in a model kit, and surprised myself with how well it turned out.
Yeah.
Once you know that aftermarket exists, you have to try it, don't you?
That's
You
right.
do.
You have to. It's a game changer.
Because you look at it and you're like, oh, that looks cool. I want to put that in my thing and have it be like the best one,
Yeah.
Not for everyone. Some
Look,
people hate it.
there's a map case that's actually open that you can actually make a little map and put inside there,
Yeah.
rather than just like a plastic square thing, a rectangular thing on the side of the fuselage wall.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've
We've
sort
thrashed
of-
that one enough.
yeah, and without sort of going into
part 2 next week with the letters.
yes, of course. And look, I hope we've got the right balance, and we really strive to achieve the right balance in this discussion. And if you feel we did wrong, well, you can always send us an email at onthebench64@gmail.com and blame Robert.
Also,
Or check out the review.
Yeah, or check out the review, The Cavalier Cat. Let's see what he's got to say.
Also, this is only something that you can probably shed some light on, because I just wasn't around for this. Like things like the Falklands War, was that as publicised, and
yes.
how much
Yeah,
did
that was
that?
big.
Yeah.
How much did that play into into models though?
Not a lot.
It was in my formative years, because, and it's interesting, if you remember we had Chris Meddings on the last episode, and his father was actually in the Falklands War. There's a harbour master who does one of the Port of Hastings, which is not too far away from where we were.
Yeah.
He was on the Sir Galahad. He was actually a first lieutenant there. I was a private in the army, and so it had a huge impact on me.
But in terms of models, I don't think there were a lot of actual, certainly models of Picaras and things like that at the time.
Well, the Picara's only just come out.
Yeah.
And that fantastic model. And, we've been people have been lapping that up. It's
We need the anniversaries for the models to come out. But I think at the time there may have been like a model of the Invincible aircraft carrier.
yeah.
Probably like
Airfix
that.
already had that as
And,
well.
and Harriers, I think.
yeah,
Robert
Harriers was the
got
next big
built.
one.
Yeah. But it certainly created interest.
It did.
It was the first time for me that I actually realised what war was about, because it was sort of, this is all exciting. Then there was the news of the General Belgrano getting sunk, and then the British ship that got hit by the Exocet, and they talked about the loss of
Atlantic
lives.
Conveyor.
Yeah, that sort of brought it home. And
Well, for me, it was the first sort of proper television war. I know they say Vietnam was the first television war, but I didn't really understand the Vietnam War watching it on TV, because when I was a kid, they kept talking about, Viet Cong guerrillas. I'm going, why are there monkeys running around? In my little childlike, I couldn't understand it. But for me, it was definitely and that's the difference. The coverage in the Falklands, and maybe it's my memory because it's been 40 years now, seemed to be better than what we're seeing now coming out of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I know that there are a lot of people saying this particular war now is more on Twitter and stuff like that. But gee, even thinking back to the Gulf War I, Gulf War II, we were getting much better information or visual information coming out than what we are now. And they have people embedded over there, like in BBC, CNN, all those sort of major sort of, AAP.
Yeah.
They've got people out there in the field. But the visuals that are coming through are particularly limited in comparison to previous ones. So
You think so? Because
I do.
I see a lot of stuff. I see
Well,
so much stuff.
But
I'm thinking on the mainstream media. Yes, on Twitter,
right.
on that, there's a lot there, and you've really got to sort of go and dig to get that. But on Twitter,
I think
even Facebook's dropped the ball, and YouTube is not much. And I guess that's because it takes so long to upload that, whereas Twitter and TikTok, my God, TikTok, who would have thought that was, a medium for a historical event?
yeah.
But it is.
Well, see, I think the reason for that might be because a lot of print media, like the investigative journalism, war journalism, has sort of died off. There's no money in it, really, especially when there's no conflicts going on.
I remember with the first Gulf War, though, it was 24 hours on the television.
Yeah.
Well, this is now. I still get CNN,
Right,
BBC,
yeah.
World, and all that. I get all the news services streaming,
Well,
it is 24 hours.
But it was on free-to-air TV. I think it was Channel 10.
Yes.
That was all they showed.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of pictures of missiles and bombs hitting things.
And of course, in Australia, in the last week, we've had sort of more pressing
Well,
issues
that's true,
locally
yeah.
as well with the floods, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show.
But nowadays, mainstream media are going to play Married at First Sight rather than any real news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of televised war, I suppose. It's all done with phones,
Yeah.
and depending on how good the phone is, it's a bit good, and sometimes it's a bit bad. And
Which makes it even more difficult to verify the veracity of what you're seeing, because as everybody knows,
but I think you also
truth is the first
you get
casualty of war.
You get more graphic images
Yeah, but I mean,
because it's not being passed through this filter to make it consumable by the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, but I mean, you look back at the Ghost of Ukraine again. I come back to that, and I think that's by and large been accepted as being just propaganda.
Yeah.
Now, and yet it sort of went all across social media, and there's no way to sort of verify that. It takes days and days. Whereas, I think when we were watching Gulf War 1 and 2, what you were seeing sort of even the Gulf War, the Falklands War. Even though some of it cleared the censors, what you were seeing is stuff that was verifiable there and there on the spot. So I think it's interesting.
There's also the communication aspects, because you remember the internet goes down in various places, and there's like Elon Musk is in there with his Starlink, whatever it is. But I mean, like, it can't be that easy for the average person to just actually hook up to the internet and film things and upload things for other people in the world to see.
Well, the latest report I got from Pacific Crossroad Models, they posted on Facebook that looks like Facebook's going to be shut down in Russia now, or very restricted.
Right.
So they were just posting their email address so that people can still get in contact with them. So I think we're seeing some major changes in media coming through.
So it's going to affect modelling in Russia a lot then.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, as we were talking about with the coverage, one thing we didn't press on was like CNN, BBC, and all those, they were attached, or sort of a semi-attached,
Embedded.
embedded in
Yeah.
with the military at the time.
They
So
were.
they got, whereas in this conflict, they're on the outer fence.
Yeah.
Thus, you're not getting, as you said, the quality or also the quantity of footage and reporting.
That you would expect
That you would
in
ex-
2022.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all been, as I said, they're on the outer fence.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I have no idea what's going on over there.
Me neither, and that's why I'm keeping well out of the politics of it. I don't know what's going on. I just feel so sorry for the poor people over there. It's, and as Dave said, it's absolute tragedy. It should never happen. There's always better ways of getting around problems than pointing a gun at someone. And all I can hope is that senses prevail and they sort this out, and we don't have any more loss of life or property and so forth.
Well, I think that's a great way to sort of close off the segment, Ian.
No
I think
worries.
you really touched on it
Yes.
there. Thanks very much for listening. Been fantastic to have it on the show again, Robert.
Thank you.
It's always
Lovely
enjoyable.
being here.
It's always enjoyable having you on and bringing your font of wisdom and knowledge.
The sensei.
Why does it sound sarcastic?
No, he's the sensei.
It would be sarcastic if I was saying it.
We have to have you back again soon so we can
Definitely.
figure something out for you to talk about.
Hopefully I get more than 4 hours sleep next time.
Yeah.
Well, that was your fault. You were
No,
up
it was
modelling
Julian's fault. He
last
didn't
night.
tell me the time.
Oh, whatever.
And he wouldn't let me out. It was too wet.
So just to be clear to everybody, Julian and Robert had a date night last night.
The date night
No,
at a club meeting.
well, me and Robert are part of a group of people who always stay late at the model club. And because I have a personal connection to the venue where we have our club meetings, you know, I can stay there as long as I want, and as long as I'm still there, it can just keep running, you know. And usually, like for example, at our meetings, Dave and Ian will peel off early around 9:30 or something.
Yeah,
like
10
that.
o'clock usually?
9:30 usually for me, because that's usually when I'm hitting the wall.
Yeah,
There's a problem when you get out of bed at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
and that's usually when the conversation dies down and the model kits and the toolboxes come out and we start just tinkering on things. That's how we do things. But it started getting a bit late and I knew I had to get up early, but you could hear the rain outside and it was really bucketing down. I'm like, oh, that's all right, maybe after a while it'll die down. It didn't.
Got worse.
It didn't. It just kept on going, and it kept on going until I got home, and I had to run out to my car and pull my car right up to the door because I didn't want my model kits getting wet. You know what's it really sucks when your model kit boxes get wet and they go all that bubbly. I hate that.
Nothing worse than the soggy. No, I won't say that.
Well, in any case, so I had to open the boot of my car just a crack just to slip the boxes into the back, and even then I left them in my car overnight because I wasn't gonna run to the house.
Oh, jeez.
In the rain with my model kits.
Yep.
Yes, Julian's very delicate. Can't get wet.
Yep.
All
I
right.
don't like my model kits getting wet because the stupid box is going to be around until you finish the model, and who knows how long that's going to take. Until then, you're going to have to deal with this shitty box.
Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great modelling fortnight, and we'll be back next time. Ian,
Which is our friend.
yeah, sorry.
Well, I haven't said photo, which is friend for a while.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm gonna
You've fallen out with Photo Etch, haven't you?
No, mate. I've just finished taking all the bits off me Edward.
He's just found new friends.
Yes,
Right.
3D. Yes, it's. Yeah.
Oh no,
Photo
just
Etch is
for-
like, Ian hasn't called me for ages.
No, I'm going to enjoy once I knock off here or go back home and do some modelling and hook into the last book of the Destroyer Man series, which I'll be quite sad to see the end of that series of books because I've really invested a lot of time in that, and it's a great series.
As long as the Grick finally meet their ending that they deserve.
Oh, I think it's more the Dominion you got to worry about,
Oh, okay.
and the League of Tripoli.
Okay, you're a couple of books ahead of me.
Like I said, I'm on the final book, and it's going to
Excellent.
be quite sad to
I've no
finally
idea what
finish
you're
it off.
talking about.
Terrific.
Oh, it's a great series, The Destroyer Men. If you ever want to read a bit of what if read with a great world building, Taylor Anderson's The Destroyer Man series. Great series of books.
Julian.
I'm probably going to go home and take a nap.
Yeah, you look like you need it. Go have a nano nap.
Yeah, but strangely enough, I seem more alive than Ian.
Oh, there you go.
He's had more coffees than me,
I know,
haven't
I've
you?
had twice the amount of coffees as I've had in a fortnight.
All right, guys, thanks very much. We'll be back in a fortnight. In the meantime, have a great modelling fortnight. Catch you later.